Good morning, one and all. We'll be starting your lecture within a minute or two. By the time you can put up your attendance. And those who have won yesterday, please make sure that they are entering their roll numbers only once, and that too in English only. Okay, so I hope everyone is there in the class now. We usually give you this much time to join the class so that if there's anyone who is having any problem, they can do so. So, where did we stop yesterday? Can you tell me?
Ma'am, we have completed that 8 features.
That is the eight common features of the features of what, Nandini?
Cycle.
Business cycle. Yes, very good, bacho. See, bacho, I just try to make sure that you are aware about yesterday also. This is something which I do not do with you on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Generally on Tuesdays because I know that there has been a long gap for you and me both, and there are chances you might not be able to remember what happened on the last day of the week. But on regular days, I'll always ask you that what we did yesterday. Okay, so today what we will do is we will start with a new topic, and that is loanable funds theory. We can call it a loanable funds theory, or in other words, we can call it neoclassical theory of interest. Now, we have seen too many theories in macroeconomics by now. We have seen the theory of employment, we have seen the theory of demand, we have seen the theory of income, of exchange rate, of investment, and so on. But generally, what we have seen in all those theories was that uh, those theories were either made by one person or they were a development of the theory which was once developed. Like if you talk about the money theory, then either it may be the classical theory or the Cambridge theory, or it may be the Nice theory. All of them were basically a step ahead of the last one, right? But when we are coming to this loanable fund theory, this is the theory which was developed by many economists. Like we are having Nutt, Excel, Olin, Nadal, Robertson. All of them came together in order to develop a loanable fund theory. There is generally each and every theory is either known by the person's name or by the name of the university in which they were developed. But here we are having a variety of people, and hence they have named the theory on the basis of on which the theory was made. They have also given one more name to the theory, and that is known as the neoclassical theory of interest. Now, what is this neoclassical theory of interest? See, basically, according to this theory, the interest is the price paid to use any loanable fund, and that is true also. Whenever we take any sort of loan from the market, you must be aware that whenever there is a certain amount of loan which is taken from the market, we have to pay it back. Are we, am I right? Am I wrong? If we have taken a loan from any of the banks, we have to pay it back. And Ishan Chauhan, you have started this once again. Okay. So, how do you pay back the interest? Do you pay back just the interest along with the? Okay. So we are just not paying the loan amount. but we also pay interest along with the loan amount, right? So what is this interest amount? Is this the amount which we are paying because we have taken a loan and we have kept that amount for us for the long period of time? So can we say that this loan amount is basically the cost of borrowing money from the bank? Can we state that the loan amount is basically the cost of borrowing money from the bank? Sorry, the interest amount. Yes. The interest amount is the cost of,
Yes, ma'am.
yes, the cost of borrowing money from the bank is the interest amount. Okay. So whatever the theory is saying, that is absolutely right as per us also. Now the loanable fund theory is something which refers to the amount of money funds available for lending and the borrowing process. Basically, this theory is something which is going around only that money which is available with the banks, so that they can provide a certain amount of loan to the people, or we can say lending and borrowing. Some of the times the banks even borrow money from one another in order to fulfill their requirements and needs. So this is that, and we'll be going around the theory only in order to understand that. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I'm so very sorry. Okay. So what we'll be going through in this theory to understand that what supplies this loanable fund, because someone has to supply na. Loanable fund ऊपर से तो आएगा नहीं. What is another name that we can give to this loanable funds? Anyone can tell me that? Not the neoclassical theory or the theory's name, but by using the past information that I have given you in macroeconomics, what is the other name which we can give to these loanable funds? Anyone can give me an answer. जो और जो याद आए वो चलेगा. It's not like you have to give me an exact perfect answer only. जो आपको समझ में आ रहा है मुझे वो बताओ. From all past theories, if you can come up with anything. Yeah. My question is, beta, that what other name can we give to loanable funds? By which other name are these loanable funds known in the market?
Overdraft.
No. Overdraft is not loanable fund, beta. That is something that the bank has allowed you to withdraw more than your balance. It's not a loan. It's a sort of loan, but it's not termed as a loanable fund. What is the other name used for loanable funds?
Borrowed funds.
No, not borrowed funds. It is a type of money. From the two main types of money, it is a type of money. No, no. Jill, you are right. How to pronounce your name, Zils? It is Zils or something else? Yes, Archie, Diti, you people are absolutely right. And it's Zils. Okay. Yes, Zils, even you are right, but instead of writing credit money, you have written credit fund. So they give exactly different meaning. The credit money is another name which can be used for loanable funds, because whenever any bank provides this sort of money, for borrowing and for borrowing and lending purposes, then what it does, it creates credit money. Okay, so now we'll try to understand the supply of loanable funds, or the factors which are determining the supply of loanable funds. Now, the first one is savings account, or we can say savings. How will savings determine the supply of loanable funds? Without reading the slide, anyone can tell me? This is majorly something which can be turned on common sense also. So if you can tell me, how can savings become a part of loanable funds? बच्चों ये सब बेसिकली अपन ने पहले कर रखा है. This is just a revision of that in some other theory. How can your savings become a part of loanable funds? कुछ भी जवाब दो. See, listen to me. Give me any reply. It can be right, it can be wrong. आप लोगों ने देखा है, whenever you give me a wrong reply, I just tell you that नहीं, this is not the right reply. Try to get a right reply.
Ma'am, repeat the question, please.
Yes, please repeat.
Question, please repeat.
अरे भाई. Okay. How can we say that our savings are playing a part in the supply of loanable funds? આપણી સેવિંગ્સ લોનેબલ ફંડ્સમાં કઈ રીતે એઝ અ સપ્લાય પ્રૂવ થાય છે? What is given as credit? चलो आप ही से जवाब निकलवाती हूँ. When the bank is providing loans, which money is used? ऐसे when the bank gives
It's
loans.
our saving money, ma'am.
Exactly. So will our savings turn up as loanable funds?
Yes.
Obviously they'll become a supply to it. देखा? आप लोगों को तो पता है. That is so good. Okay. So let us try to understand the theory also of that. Practical तो हमें समझ में आ गया. So the main source of savings are household and business concern. Now, according to this theory, the savings is something which depends on the rate of interest. If the rate of interest is high, people will save more money and people will even borrow more money. And if the interest rate is low, people will save less money. So the higher rate of interest, greater the volume of savings. That is, savings are interest elastic. That is what they're saying. That if the banks are providing more rate of interest, then they can be higher savings. So savings of the individual household, basically they are something which depend upon the ability and willingness to save. There are some people in the society who might be having an ability to save the amount in the bank account, but what they do is they keep it under the bed, they keep it in the cupboard, और फिर जब नोटबंदी आती है तो वो सारे पैसे कहीं कहीं से निकलता है. So it's advisable to keep the money in the bank. At least नोटबंदी के टाइम पे नोट तो नहीं चेंज करवाने पड़ेंगे. You just have to keep on withdrawing. Okay, so the savings of the individual household are something which depends upon not only the ability but also on the willingness to save. And this is, savings are also generated by the business firms. How are they generated by the business firms? They retain a part of their profit as a reserve. See, every business firm has to be ready for what is going to happen tomorrow. They always have to be ready for an unforeseen circumstance. They have to, or we can say contingency situation, because tomorrow is something which is unpredictable. Not only for individuals but for businesses too. आज कोई टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है, कल अचानक से किसी ने कोई नई टेक्नोलॉजी लॉन्च कर दी. Will you sustain? So for all those things, these reserves are created. So what is the source of this reserve? Any sort of undistributed profit is basically the source of savings. The savings of a business firm depend partly upon the interest rate also. Higher the rate of interest, larger will be the savings, because they are aware that अगर हमने save किया तो will be able to earn more interest, and the interest is this can be termed as the income generated from keeping money. And there's one more thing which I like you people to focus on, and that is by the time we are trying to understand the supply of loanable funds, there is always a mention of curve in the loanable funds. I'll request you people to please write down that in each and every feature or source, where is that supply curve moving. So in here, the supply curve of savings moves upwards. So basically what we have understood over here is that our savings are something which are interest lusted, and for individual household they depend entirely on ability and willingness, and for business firms they depend entirely on the rate of interest. For business firm, out of undistributed profit they keep a certain part of reserve, and the higher the interest rate the larger will be their savings. And with this, the supply curve of savings moves upwards. Where does it move? I told you to write down where is the supply curve moving. Upwards, downwards. Good. I just keep noting that down. Okay, then we are having a word about dishoarding. Money hoarded in the previous period may now be used as the purpose of lending, because the idle cash balance of the past will become the active cash balance of present. कई बार लोग होते हैं, they keep on holding the money and they do not use it, but later on when it is required they start using it or saving it in the bank. This is called dishoarding. What dishoarding depends on? It entirely depends on the interest rate. Higher the rate of interest, higher the dishoarding. Some of the times the interest rate is so low that the bank is not interested in giving out loans. उनको तो तभी इंटरेस्ट आएगा ना जब इंटरेस्ट रेट हाई होगा. So they do not give interest, or they elongate the process of loan, and all those things they do, and they hoard money. But when the interest rate is high, the dishoarding will also be high. And vice versa. When the interest rate is less, the liquidity preference of the people will be high and dishoarding will be less. When I am saying dishoarding will be less, that by itself means that people will hoard more money. इकट्ठा करके अपने कबर्ड में रखने में ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड होंगे. So as a result, whenever the rate of interest is high, we can say that the dishoarding curve slopes upwards. This is loanable fund theory basically, but it works on the rate of, it is something which is wound around the rate of interest also. Okay. So when the interest rate is high, the dishoarding will also be higher. And the interest rate is low, people will again start preferring the liquidity with their own self, and hence they will not do too much of dishoarding. Okay. You people must be thinking that, ma'am, आप पहले तो स्पीड में पढ़ा रहे थे, अब आप धीरे क्यों चल रहे हो? Because we are having ample of time. Earlier I was not able to adjust the time. I thought that I'll miss some of the parts of your syllabus, but now I'm very, very comfortable and convenient. तो मैं आपको आराम से पढ़ाऊंगी. Okay, then is disinvestment. What is disinvestment? Anyone can tell me? What is disinvestment?
The government sector which has been privatized.
That is disinvestment in the government sector. Generally, what is disinvestment?
Ma'am,
Hmm.
ma'am, I have a doubt.
in disordering, that what is the actual meaning of disordering? Means I know it is proportionate to the interest rate and all, but what is the actual meaning? Means what is disordering, that
Okay,
I don't
what is the meaning of hoarding, Nandini? Can you tell me that?
uh,
नहीं पता, कोई बात नहीं. Hoarding means पैसे इकट्ठे करना.
okay.
That is to pile up money in the cupboard. Whereas dishoarding is that when the interest rate is high, the bank is interested in giving that money out on loan.
Okay.
Now they are not interested in putting it inside the cupboard. Earlier they were interested in keeping it in the cupboard because the interest rate was low, तो उनको ज़्यादा पैसे मिलने नहीं वाले थे. But now when the interest rate is high, they can earn more money by giving that amount as loanable funds. So they start dishoarding. The same is with individuals also. जैसे ही उन्हें पता चलता है that by putting the amount in the bank account we can get higher amount of interest rates, they start transferring their hoarded money in the accounts because now they think that they'll be able to earn a higher rate of interest. That is why we say that interest rate is something which works as a determinant factor also for the supply of loanable funds. Because whenever the interest rate is high, these things will start increasing. Okay, so we were talking about disinvestment, withdrawing investment or not utilizing the sum for the purpose of investment. Yes, disinvestment is seen when government provides subsidies or sells or liquidates the assets. Okay, but that is about government. Okay, now what is disinvestment? Are you
Ma'am,
aware? Yes.
when someone is investing the reserve reserve in the business and making the profit means I think it is disinvestment.
Yes, that is what it is mentioned on the slide also. Let's try to understand what they are trying to say. Okay?
Okay.
Slide कहाँ चली गई? ये. Okay, now answer me one thing. Are you aware that as soon as any business invests in a particular asset, along with charging depreciation on the asset, they start building a depreciation reserve too?
Every year they used to reduce is the some percent of depreciation reserve.
That is, they reduce the value of an asset through depreciation. But they are also building a depreciation reserve. See, what happens? Generally, this happens with the companies, but when you are studying accounts, this is the term which is not being told to the students. I don't know why they do that, but they do that. See, and I know because I used to work in a firm and they just bought new machinery and started creating a depreciation reserve. Now, what happens with each and every company is whenever they are buying a particular asset in the face of land or machinery or building, they are aware that after this particular point of time, this particular asset will not be any more useful to us. With machineries, they are having a deadline. With building, they are having a deadline. कि इसके टाइम के इस टाइम के बाद will have to change the floor, will have to change the ceiling, will have to change the construction of the building because whenever there is any machinery running in the building, it shakes a lot. तो आपको construction change करवाना पड़ता है. So what these companies start doing is that as soon as the asset is being bought or built up by them, from the next year itself they start saving for the renewal. That is called a depreciation reserve. But this is possible only when they are having enough profits. Because when you need to buy a new asset, you'll have to use capital. This amount of depreciation reserve is something which is used to replace the worn out capital that you are having. Now, when the profit rates declines, the firm will not use the depreciation reserve to replace the worn out machinery. But what will they use? They will use the same for supplying the loanable funds. That is the amount of capital which was required by the company. They will try to shift this amount to that. Because they are not having enough profits and they need to repay the amount of loan which they have taken on the machinery. So this will be transferred over there. And that is called disinvestment. You were trying to make a reserve for something, but now when you're not having enough profits to make that sort of investment, instead of creating an investment for something, what are you doing? You're trying to fulfill the obligations that you are already having. You have taken a loanable fund from the bank, you are unable to repay it because you're having lesser profits. So instead of replacing the machinery through this depreciation amount, what will you do? You will try to pay this amount to the loanable funds so that your obligation can be finished. This is called disinvestment. When the rate is high, the supply curve will also slope upwards. Now, when the rate of disinvestment is high, even then the supply curve will slope upwards. Is there anyone who's having a doubt? Because I heard someone asking something.
Yes, ma'am, me.
Hmm.
I
Oh,
didn't get it.
okay. See, you are having a refrigerator at your home. Now, from the year you bought the refrigerator, with the type of usage the family members are having of that refrigerator, you people are aware that after a time of 7 years, ये डब्बा खराब हो जाएगा, क्योंकि हम इसको बार बार खोलते हैं, बंद करते हैं, या फिर हमारा इतना यूटिलाइजेशन है कि 7 साल में हमारा एक फ्रिज खराब हो जाता है. So what you'll start doing is but नहीं, रेफ्रिजरेटर तो बहुत बेकार सी चीज हो गई, उसके लिए कौन लोन देता है. ओके, चलो, यू हैव बॉट अ कार एंड यू हैव टेकन अ लोन फॉर दैट. Okay, guys, just give me a second. Okay, so now you have bought a car, right? And that too on a loan. Now you are aware that we as a family travel a lot and that to far distant places without even considering that what sort of road is there, because we are adventurous people. So after the period of 10 years, the car that we have bought will not be of any use at all. Okay, that happens with some of the people. So it's very common. So now what they'll do is they'll start having a reserve in order to buy a new car for future. कि हमें 10 साल बाद तो कार चेंज करनी है, तो we'll start having a reserve. Now one fine year what happens is that the family is not having enough money supply in order to repay the loan amount of the car which they have newly bought. So what they'll do is, instead of keeping the amount as a reserve in order to buy a new car, what they'll do, they'll pay that amount to the bank as a repayment of the loanable fund acquired by them. Now they will not keep on doing the investment. Instead, they'll pay certain amount out of the already created reserve to the bank in order to fulfill their obligation for the loanable fund which was received by them from the bank. अब समझ में आई मेरी बात? Why is it called disinvestment?
Yes, ma'am.
That is what this disinvestment is. In companies, we try to keep the depreciation firm so that we can replace or renew the machinery. But at the time when we are not having any profits and we need to pay the loan back to the bank, what we do is, instead of replacing the machinery then and there, we use that depreciation reserve to pay the loanable funds, and that is why it is called disinvestment. Because now you're not investing in anything, but you're paying the money back to someone. Are we clear now, Jitesh? And you are the
Yes,
only
ma'am.
one who's asking me the question. There must be many who are confused about it. For others also, now are we clear? Okay. Now the next supply of money is through bank money. Now bank money is something which refers to bank credit. That is the money created by banks through credit creation. Now bank credit is the most important source of loanable funds, because bank money is also interest elastic. When it will come, when it will not come is something which is highly dependent on the interest. When the interest rate is high, the bank advance large volume of credit money. So the supply curve of the bank money will also be upward sloping. Now, I told you in the very beginning to write down that the curves are sloping where. Now, can you tell me all four curves are going where? There were four curves. In this theory, there were four curves. The first one was about saving, dishoarding, disinvestment, and bank money. Where are these curves sloping? With the increase in the rate of interest, where are these curves sloping?
Upward.
Okay, good, very good. So we can say that with the increase in interest, the curve of the loanable fund theory slopes where? It slopes upwards. Okay. Now, this was about the supply of the loanable funds. Now let's talk about the demand of the loanable funds. That is factors determining the demand of loanable funds. The first one is investment funds. Now the demand for loanable funds come from the investors. The business firm requires loan for acquiring capital assets like building. They need to purchase the machinery. They need to build up the stocks or invest inventories. So the demand for investment funds is something which depends upon the profit rate and the rate of interest. So as long as the rate of interest is less than the expected rate of returns, the firms will borrow. But if the rate of interest is more than the demand, eh, okay, if the rate of interest is less than the expected rate of return, then the demand for investment funds will fall. Just a second, I'll correct this. फिर आप लोगों के पास जब पीपीटी आती है तब उसमें कुछ गलत आ जाता है. Okay, if the interest rate is more than the expected rate of return, then the demand for investment funds fall, and the demand curve of the investment fund slopes downwards. Again, they are saying the same thing, but the supply of this loanable funds is more when the interest rate is high, whereas the demand for the loanable funds is more when the interest rate is low. Now, some of you were asking me about disinvestment. Here we can understand that the loanable funds are required for what, and why is disinvestment a part of supply of those loanable funds? These loanable funds are required for investment funds. Basically, people take loan for construction, for machinery, for stocks, inventories, and the demand is something which is entirely dependent on profit. If a person is making some profits and the interest rate is low, only then he'll go for a loanable fund. But when the interest rate is higher as compared to the rate of return, then the demand of these investment funds will easily fall. Then is consumption demand. The consumer can also demand loans for purchasing consumer goods. Now they require this loans for purchasing consumer items like two-wheelers, refrigerators, televisions. So the demand for loanable fund for consumption is something which is inversely related to the interest rate. See kids, try and understand. जब भी we are working as a organization which is providing funds, we are more interested in higher rate of interest, because only a higher rate of interest will give us more income. Whereas when we are talking about the demand of loanable funds, you will always see that the demand will increase whenever the rate of interest is low, because a person is never interested in paying a higher amount of interest rate in front of any sort of loan taken by them. And that is one of the reasons because of which whenever the interest rate decreases for this flexible loans, this is generally the case of flexible loans. If you have taken a flexible loan and you'll see that the rate of interest is decreasing, the person who has taken the loan will try to finish the loan as early as possible, even if they have to pay a certain extra amount. Excuse me. Okay, so this is what I was telling you, that whenever the interest rate is low, only then we are interested in taking the loans. Whenever the interest rate is high, the consumers are discouraged in taking loans. So the consumer is encouraged to borrow more when the interest rate is low, and they borrow less when the interest rate is high. That is why for the consumption demand, the even the consumption demand curve slopes downwards. The supply curve with the rate of interest will slope upwards. That when the interest rate is high, the supply curve will slope upwards. When the interest rate is high, the demand curve will slope downwards. Okay, then is hoarding. Hoarding means the desire of people to keep cash balance without using them. This is also known as liquidity preference. At higher rate of interest, the desire of hoarding money is less, and they can get a better return. At lower rate of interest, the hoarding will be high. Hence, the demand curve of hoarding will again slope downwards only. I think I'll stop over here, because after this, there's a determination of the rate of interest that we are starting, and then you'll get more confused. So let us stop with the demand and supply of the loanable funds, and in the next lecture we'll go through the determination of the rate of interest. Is that comfortable to you all also?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I genuinely think that you'll get confused. अगर मैंने अभी शुरू किया तो I'll not be able to complete it within next 2 to 3 minutes, and then half of it will remain this side and half of it of that will remain that side. तो वो ढंग से समझ में नहीं आता, and then at the end what you people do is you get everything mixed up like a hodgepodge. और वो खिचड़ी फिर मुझे खानी पड़ती है, मुझे खिचड़ी खानी पसंद नहीं है. So we'll do it in the next lecture. Till then, thank you for attending the class. I hope you have entered your attendance properly. Those who have not done, they can do it right now. Those who have done, they can leave. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
I had a question if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, actually, I was doing the assignment work, and what happened was I kind of got stuck with the circular law of income, and you asked for its significance. And how do you expect us to write the significance there? Like, do you want us to explain the four-sector model, or do you want us to just like mention any important characteristics of the model also?
But it is an assignment. It is given so that you can prepare your notes in a proper way. So the extent to which you think that your notes should be prepared, you can do that. Whereas what my intention for the significance was, that what is the importance of the model, that is what you have to write down. Usage, importance, those things can be written. And the model itself.
Yes, okay. I got it. Yes, thank you.
Baki, please mark my words, my purpose of giving you the assignments is that your notes of that particular topic are properly prepared, which does not mean that the topic is important. All the topics are important. I do not believe in giving important questions. Those questions are taken randomly. So my intention is that you should be able to prepare the topic in a good way. That's it, nothing else. I hope Ritu I'm clear, beta.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, have a good day.